My name is Dave Finnegan. I head up the customer experience practice at Reach Partners. And one of the things that I love about Kendra Scott is Kendra Scott has 3 core values of interesting, the order of their values too: family, fashion, and philanthropy. I would say 3 F's, but it's really 2 F's and something that sounds like an F, right? Family, fashion, and philanthropy. And so when it comes to brands and connecting with brands and brand experience, those values mean a lot, mean a tremendous amount. And those values based on the data and the insights that you get from your customers and how you connect with those is what we're going to talk about this afternoon. So I've been looking forward to this a lot. So let me introduce our 2 speakers today. First, KK, he's the VP, head of digital and e-commerce at Kendra Scott. And Yim Noble, the Senior Director of Customer Success at Contentsquare. Please join me welcoming them both to the stage.
Thank you, David. So really quickly, before we begin, for those of you who don't know Contentsquare, we are an all-in-one digital experience platform. And I'm happy to be joining KK here on stage today. We have one of the things that we recently, on an annual basis, Contentsquare launches an annual benchmark report. And I just wanted to, highlight some of the data that Contentsquare has surfaced up in 2023, because it was quite a tough year for retail. We looked at data across nearly 3,600 retail sites, 200 billion page views, and over 43 billion sessions. And what we found was a overall decline of 5% site traffic, increased user frustration, and an overall decrease in consumption. How many of you in the audience does this resonate with? Yeah, right. Coincidentally, though, I will say it was quite the opposite for what's happened with Kendra Scott, which is why I'm so happy to be here with KK to just talk through with him about his successes and how he's been able to transform the e-commerce side of the business through unification of data and cross-functional partnership. So thank you, KK, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
In your role at Kendra Scott, so when you joined, my understanding is that you did not have an analytics or personalization team, and now you have a powerhouse today. Can you talk a little bit about how you built that team?
Sure. So before I get there, again, great to be here. Hi, everyone, and great to be here with you as well, Yim, and we have been close partners for several years right now. And David already mentioned a little bit about Kendra Scott. If you guys don't know, we are a lifestyle jewelry brand. We have almost 148 stores in the US. We ship to 175 countries from US. And philanthropy is a big pillar for us. And over the last decade, we donated over 65 million for great causes, and I'm really proud to be representing a brand who truly does good for the society, and everything else is kind of secondary, in terms of that. So again, I think I joined Kendra Scott last year in January, and again I think like Yim was mentioning that we saw there's macroeconomic headwind. But luckily, we didn't experience that. We had the most groundbreaking year, 2023, and we had a record start in 2024. And again, I think the brand momentum is really strong. There's tremendous team effort across all channels, which is helping that. And in addition to that, I think what we have done, we have we have taken a path of digital transformation when it comes to the e-com business. And I remember in my first 100 days, we created a 3-year strategy which was grounded on customer and data insights. And our goal was to bring that winning big mindset like across the organization and the team, because we were seeing a downward trend since COVID when it comes to the e-com business, but we changed that trajectory drastically over the last few months. And part of that, I also created an analytics and personalization function. And the focus of that group is 100% like insights generation, not like data reporting, because there's so many groups like who does reporting in any organization. So our goal was 100% focus on actionable insights so that we can democratize those insights across the organizations, whether it's like digital marketing team, whether it's like retail ops team, etc., so that we are empowering those teams so that we can make like data informed decisions in our day-to-day, and we show that in our numbers. I think that has been like the biggest change, and what it resulted in, our overall like testing program like skyrocketed. Like we delivered over like 1,000% increase in our testing lineup, because now the team is empowered to come up with different ideas, and we are failing fast. But we are also driving tremendous success on some of the tests, and which kind of like helped us to become that like program champion. We got that program champion award like from Monited last year. So that was kind of like the end result, like we saw, like by being more data informed rather than data driven through those insights.
Yeah, thank you for that. What were some of the like key use cases that the Kendra Scott team leveraged with to drive some of these successes?
Like I can share one example. So we introduced the Voice of Customer program last year. We stitched like all the Contentsquare like session replays, heat maps, like with those feedback. What helped us to understand a little bit more, like what are the friction points like that exist on the website, right? So once we have like a narrowed down list, then we also did targeted user research, directly interviewing customers, non-customers, to get those like qualitative insights. Because oftentimes you can get distracted by just looking at data unless you have some more additional anecdotes like from the customers. So that helped us to kind of like narrow down like what are those like UX optimization opportunities, right? And then like we prioritized like 10 out of that entire list. And we saw that it's like just by focusing on those 10 initiatives, we drove over $1 million, like in terms of the incremental sales, right? So again, it's the power of not looking at the data, but then kind of like doing better storytelling, like what the data is trying to tell you, and then kind of like merge like customer insights into that to kind of like then do like ROI driven prioritization, and then that's kind of like helps to move the needle.
That's incredible growth that you've had. So the one thing I think we all deal with here today is also we have so much data that we're working with. So can you elaborate on how do you then hone in on the key metrics that you and your team decide to use and track and monitor progress?
Sure. Again, I think oftentimes like we talk about like big data, right? But then you don't need like that much data to take action. I think that's the surprising piece, right? It's only that like you just need to know like what to look at, right? Like it depends on like what hat I'm wearing. Like if I'm wearing the P&L hat, so then I'm going to look into like revenues, gross margin, OPEX, EBITDA, right? Those are the main metrics I look at. And then oftentimes, like when people are like not that much focused in terms of keeping a check on like what is the cancellation rate, what is driving the cancellation, like what is the return rate, like which products are driving the return rates, right? Given the macroeconomic headwind, I think we are very much focused on the cost management side of the house. So looking into like all those metrics and then like taking actions. Like when I think of like a web perspective, like all the basic metrics like traffic, conversion, AOV, UPT, AUR, like everyone is perhaps like looking at those. But then we also did a lot of data cleansing last year because we didn't have a strong foundation. So we created a full funnel view of the customers so that we know like what is happening in PDP, what is happening in PLP, cart, checkout, where do we have those opportunities to close the gap. So I think that helped us in terms of taking those actions. And from a customer standpoint, there are different metrics then you look at like NPS, CSAT. We are also working on to introduce the LTV, lifetime value metrics, or like return purchase frequency metrics. There's some of the metrics like which we want to look at, but then we currently don't have access to it. But we are in the process of building those, like thinking about the long term of the business in terms of customer retention, etc.
That's great. And can you talk a little bit about how you're also blending your offline and online customer experience using data?
Sure. Again, like Kendra Scott is a very like a deeply personal brand. So our stores or retail is at the heart of the omni-channel journey, and the customization like which we can offer in store, or the personal connection like which we build with the customers. I mean, that's irreplaceable, right? So what we always try to do, we're striving to close that gap online by elevating those experiences. And there are a lot of nuances always in the data, right? So I think the way we dissect it is we look into like product performance for online, offline. We see where do we have pockets of strengths in the online business, right? And the same thing, like from a geo, like we know like which states is performing what, and then like is there any opportunity in terms of certain channels? Like we have like different like omni capabilities: buy online, ship from store, buy online, pick up in store. So we're all constantly like striving for like improvement in terms of speed. Like speed translates to dollars. And even within customization, we know customers behave very differently. Like customers, when they walk in store, they have more time. Like they like to mix and match different stones. Like they use our color bar or engraving a lot. Whereas online, the whole customization shifts to birthstones or initials. So it's kind of like you need to understand those nuances, like, and then like you can personalize the experience across those channels so that like one channel is complementing the other channel. But again, it's very much doable, like as you get deeper into those insights.
Right. Yeah, you start to create that unified customer experience between offline and online. That's great. Yeah. So with the last few minutes that we have, I'm going to switch gears and touch upon the big buzzword, AI. We've heard a lot of it in the industry. What we've heard across the Contentsquare customer base is that our customers are using AI to generate content and offer an improved customer experience. Is Kendra Scott leveraging AI across channels?
Absolutely, yes. Like we are leveraging AI. And again, I think predictive AI continues to be our number one priority. Given like we are trying to upsell, cross-sell, increase basket, like all the basic things like which you expect to do on an e-commerce site is done through predictive AI. So Gen AI is the icing on the cake, right? So, and we are making some inroads there. We have created our plan for the next few years, like when it comes to the overall like AI strategy. And there are a few use cases like where we made some progress, like chatbot is one example. Like we're also trying to test like different like branded content through it. But I would still say that we are very much in the early stage, and very excited like what happens like when you start like merging all the LLM models like with predictive AI. I think that's where like our heads are. Are we there yet? No, but again, like we're gradually taking strides in that path.
That's great. I'm curious to know how many customers how many folks in the audience is starting to leverage AI? Yeah, almost the whole room. Well, thank you, KK. Do we have time for Q&A from the audience?
We've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes left. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to ask KK a question?
Or Yim.
Or me. Yes, you can ask me too.
Yeah, quick question about the most important metrics. What metrics have come about that have surprised you as being North Star metrics, and what metrics have kind of come to be known as more of a vanity metric or not as important as you refine your data strategy?
I think it depends, right? Like what you are, like which lens you are wearing, right? Like from a profitability lens, like you always look at certain metrics, right? When you are doing a testing, I think your whole philosophy changes for metrics, right? So the immediate next step, which you expect the customer to take, becomes your goal metric, right? So that's the best practice, like in testing world. So then, like you start introducing like different other metrics, whether it's like PDP view rate or like whether it's like revenue per visit. But again, I think at the end of the day, I think like all of us are trying to drive a profitable business for the company. And if we are too focused on the top line, and if you lose focus on the bottom line, I think we will drive top line, but then not profits, right? So I think that's where like it's all about doing a balancing act. I think that's the most like crucial factor. Anything, Yim, you want to add?
No, I mean, I think you nailed the balancing act of the top line versus bottom line metrics. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, we test, you know, we track our main KPIs and see if it's taking us in the right direction. And if we don't, then, you know, we pivot. I mean, one of the things that, you know, we recommend to all of our customers is a test and learn approach, constant iteration, tracking your data, and then, you know, do it over time to understand what really sticks in terms of optimization, and that will help, you know, drive your long-term strategy when it comes to, you know, what you want to put on your digital properties on a permanent versus a, you know, continuous, you know, testing.
Yeah. And oftentimes it's very difficult to like measure certain things as well, right? So like, I think when I was saying like we're a deeply personal brand, like we're also trying to build emotional connection like with the customers, right? How do you measure that? Is there a scientific way like where you can measure that? It's very difficult, right? Like we can measure CSAT, like we can do like NPS, etc., like post-purchase. But then I think those are the times then like you have to introduce surveys, etc., to get some of those like qualitative insights. So again, I think it's always great to be metrics driven, but then oftentimes data lies, like if you don't ask the right question. And oftentimes, I mean, like some of the tests, like oftentimes we fail, but it's so fascinating to see that we failed because we're completely like going in the wrong track. Like we thought that we know from the customer data or insight, but then like we completely get like completely different insights. And again, I think those are not true failures. It's just that like a learning along the way.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.